Welcome into room 442. A crazy weekend we just had. Guys, we're nearly at the quarterfinals. 1 day left for the round of 16. But today we saw Japan get knocked out by Croatia in penalties and Brazil absolutely dance around South Korea. We'll get to that game. Let's talk about the earlier match. Japan-Croatia, the first match we've seen go into extra time. I'm joined with Albert, Mikey, James, guys. A little bit of a dispute here between James and I, because I thought this was such an exciting match in the sense that it was so back and forth. We weren't sure what was going to happen. It was I was at the edge of my seat, and James thinks it was kind of a snooze fest.
Edge of your seat?
Yeah.
Back and forth?
Oh, I thought it was so back and forth. I thought it was great.
See, I'm following Twitter, obviously, right? And the people that I follow on Twitter who love tactics and strategies, they love, this is the most fascinating game I've ever watched.
Say their names.
Okay, our good friend Peter Galindo, Christian Jack. That's about it, actually. No, there's others. And listen, they love their tactics. I get it. And as you do. And that's probably why you found it exciting. For me, Croatia were poor in this game. They sat back. They didn't show any energy. They looked tired. Like Dalic said before the match, we're exhausted. Japan, as expected, in transition, really exciting. I agree. But overall, I just found it lacked something. It gave us drama, and that was good, right? We need some drama. Hasn't been much drama so far in the knockout phase. So, I mean, it wasn't a terrible game, but it wasn't like, the greatest thing I've ever seen, like you were saying earlier today.
I don't think it was the greatest thing I ever seen.
Tactically brilliant. See,
that's what they call it.
Tactics schmactics.
Tactics schmactics, yeah.
All right, well, we saw a goal in the first half by Dyson, Maeda, and then even Perisic scored early in the second half to equalized the game, which then carried us to penalties. And some people also really like penalties. For me, like I was freaking out, and neither of these teams are my team. I was so nervous. But in the end, Japan simply bottled it. Their penalties were painful to watch, Mikey.
Their penalties were absolutely terrible. Livakovic, actually, he was pretty much the star of this game. I believe he got man of the match for some of the saves that he made, but the penalties themselves were pretty terrible. I hate penalties. I don't like them whatsoever. I think it's just such a sour way to end a game, but you have to end it somehow.
I don't get the hate penalties.
Really?
I enjoy them. I really do.
I hope Switzerland, Switzerland and Portugal go to penalties tomorrow.
Yeah, Albert
I hope
loves
Switzerland.
He loves a good penalty.
Love a good penalty.
Anything from 12 yards out, I'm a big fan.
Save. But no, for Croatia, that's what Croatia do. That's what the goalkeeper said after the match. He goes, "This is what we do." He studies them so well, the penalties when it comes to Croatian keepers, and we saw, it worked out for them for Croatia. And this is the third time they've won a penalty shootout in a row at a World Cup.
Experience counts, right?
Yes.
Japan had been in one shootout before, back in 2010. They lost that one to Paraguay. And I think watching Minamino walk up to the spot, I kind of knew he was going to miss. And I forget who the second and the third were. But they all looked like they were already broken. And, I mean, listen, no one likes a penalty shootout as far as it is an unfair way. But like you said, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
After this much football, I mean, listen, Croatia were exhausted. They're dead on their feet. But I guess that little run up or stagger step up to the spot, you can handle that, right?
From the beginning of extra time, it looked like Croatia was playing for penalties.
Yeah,
right from the get-go.
Yeah, it did.
Really quickly, let's talk about that, though, because they actually subbed Luka Modric off, which I thought was the worst thing you could do when it does look like penalties are coming. Now, of course, we know he's at a certain age, and he looked exhausted, but do you not keep on your best player who is a penalty taker if there's only 15 minutes left?
Yeah, but at one point, when does he become a liability out there, right? At that age, they don't have the minutes in their legs. Off air, we were talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. We'll get to him if he's going to start or not for Portugal. But if you're that age, you have, miles on your knees and your legs, you're not going to be able to last. So I think you have to keep him out there to a certain point, but then be ready to pull him off, because there's a reason why you bring all these players to the World Cup. You need to use these players in the main key guys' absence.
And I actually don't think Luka Modric has been the same Luka Modric that we've seen in past World Cups. He's not that standout, complete, boss in the midfield type of player we've seen out of Luka Modric in the past, and maybe that's a sign of the guard is going to be turned here in terms of Croatia, and they're going to be just fine after Luka Modric, because they looked fine when he came off the field, to be completely honest, and I think he hasn't been that important to them at this World Cup.
And it wasn't just him, right? Kovacic and Perisic were both
came
off
off
as well. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we said goodbye to Japan, who I just have to quickly say, I feel like is the maybe most likable team in this World Cup. I feel like if you were a neutral in this game, you were kind of cheering for Japan. Like, I was sad to see Japan leave simply because I was like, I think they're a good group of people, and they clean up their stadium.
That's why, right? Let's be honest, is because again today they were there late cleaning up the stadium. It's incredible.
Oh, it's lovely.
But the way they played the football as well. I mean, listen, that first half they were such the better team. To be at that scoreline at half time was a little bit unfair, I thought, on them because they were the team with the aggression, but they seemed to kind of burn out as well.
Yeah.
Late in that game as well. So yeah, I mean, listen, Asian football is going places. I think it's been out of all the confederations, it's probably the most improved. I think at this World Cup. But as we'll talk about later, there's still a bit of a gap between them and the top nations. And Croatia just do this, right? They can grind teams down, and we will talk about who they're playing in the next round. It's gonna be a fascinating tilt, a good tactical battle there. But it's fascinating. I mean, how Croatia keep doing this. You always assume they're going to be in a quarterfinal at least of a big tournament with this group of players, and it's not long off between their next match. I think it's Friday, isn't it? Right. So whatever you do with Luka Modric, you stick him in a hyperbaric chamber or something, and you get him healthy because you will need him still, right? I think it's fair to say.
Well, as James alluded to, we will be seeing Croatia head to the quarterfinals as they take on Brazil. We'll be right back to talk everything Brazil and South Korea. Welcome back into room 442, guys. Let's talk about the second match of the day in Brazil and South Korea. And Brazil samba'd their way all around this park with goals from Lucas Paquetá, Vini Jr., Neymar with maybe the coolest penalty we've seen, and Richarlison. Guys, how good did Brazil look today? I mean, I get that they are a certain level against South Korea, but Mikey, to me, this Brazil side has not really looked bad, and that was even with their loss against Cameroon because they had like a fully rotated side.
Yeah, I would say there's been 3 unbelievable performances at this World Cup. The one was England against Iran, where they put up 6. The other one was Spain, of course, against Costa Rica, putting up 7, and then Brazil right now putting up 4 against a very good South Korea team, and a South Korea team that's proven that they're a really tough matchup against really good teams. And I think this one might have been the most impressive because you know what? Brazil did it in the first half. And then we know they took their foot off the gas pedal the rest of the game. They just saw that game to the full time. But they look like the real deal. They're showing us why they're favorites here in this tournament. They're also showing us how important Neymar is to this team and how much of a difference he makes to this team. He is that X factor that they needed. And now that he's back, I think Brazil is, right now, you have to say, and you have to agree with the books, they're the favorites right now.
Yeah, I agree. So I just want to give some credit to South Korea because when Brazil did take their foot off the gas, we saw South Korea score a golazo through Pai Kung-sung, and he really it was a great goal for them, and he should be happy about it. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. We kind of saw this with Senegal, and I feel like this was kind of the same story with South Korea, at least in the first half, where these a little bit lower level teams are coming through and there's such a story and such a, light around them. And then they've come into the the round of 16 rather, and they just haven't been able to perform to what maybe we thought. Or are we giving them maybe too much credit, James? Is that what it is?
Maybe obviously that big win against Portugal, right? The emotion, you saw how they reacted post-match. That was almost their World Cup in many ways. And even the way they celebrated the goal today, it was nice to see, right? I mean, they've been smashed, but they get that goal, and it was a lovely goal. But Brazil are just a different class right now, and I don't know if I can remember seeing a team that looks like it's enjoying its football more than Brazil. I mean, they're smiling, they're joking. At times, it borders on disrespect. We saw the dancing after every goal.
What do you think of Roy Keane's comments?
Yeah, Roy Keane criticizing because Tite, the manager, was dancing after that second goal, was it, or third goal?
Sorry, what did Roy Keane say?
Well, in his voice, basically saying it's disrespectful to South Korea. They dance too much. Maybe it's fine after one goal, but every goal, and then the manager's dancing now as well. I've almost got the same beard as Roy Keane these days. It's the same colour, that's for damn sure. But
touch of grey.
Yeah, a lot of grey. I don't want to be. I am a curmudgeon, right? I don't mind a bit of fun, frivolity, you know, on the sidelines, but for 4 goals, and when you bring in the manager, like I don't like seeing that. I think it's a bit much when you're smashing a team like South Korea. Would they do that against Argentina?
Yeah, are you
I
kidding
don't. I
me?
don't. I don't think they would. I don't. I know because they'd be so like intense about. Yeah, they'd be going crazy, but they wouldn't be sandbitting on the sidelines with the manager.
They would absolutely be somebody,
No
especially against Argentina. You're crazy.
Maybe after they won the match, but during the match.
I don't know. The thing is, okay, for example, Lucas Paquetá scored his first goal of the tournament. When I saw him celebrating like that, I was like, I would be doing like that's his.
She was dancing too.
What a goal!
I was
One of the teams.
Yeah.
What a fantastic goal! I want to say this about Brazil though. South Korea didn't lay a glove on them. They weren't tight on them. If you give a team like Brazil with that type of attack, that much space, they'll be able to do whatever they want, and it'll look like they're at a training ground.
Well, with Charleston, when he's hitting the ball 3 or 4 times, like you smack him.
That's a James
You
Sharman.
go right.
Oh, you have to.
You don't. Yeah, you have to. Right.
That's not going to happen.
They're like admiring him. Oh, nice,
not gonna happen against
pass the
They
ball
gave
up.
them too much respect.
Look what happened when Brazil played Switzerland. Okay, no Neymar, but it took something special from Casemiro to break them down. They're going to have that same problem against Croatia. I'm not saying they won't win, but it's not going to be as easy. South Korea, I think they were emotionally drained, and they weren't up for it at all, clearly.
Is that a theme, though, we're seeing throughout this round of 16? Because I feel like we've talked about this a couple of times, where
Senegal,
teams just don't have the energy or the same bite that they've had throughout the group stage.
Well, Spain better hope so.
I'm
Tomorrow,
praying.
right?
But the thing is, too, if you lack the energy and you don't have the quality to make up for it, you're toast.
Yeah.
You're done.
Especially
Look what happened
against
with
this
Senegal.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Right?
Prime example. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, that aside, Brazil were absolutely brilliant, and it was fun to watch.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I mean,
to
that
watch.
was a fun game to watch. You know, not for the tactical
First half.
geniuses out there. First half, anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Just
Quality goals.
A little fun fact about Chiche himself. He has now played all 26 players from the Brazilian squad. That's when we saw Weverton come in for Allison. So they've all played. It's kind of nice to see because it's an entire team. Let's switch it up though a bit, guys, and talk about some of the faces of this tournament. And I'm going to stay away from Leo Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham. I want to ask you guys who you think maybe has been, the man of the tournament so far. Who have you been impressed with? Albert, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Anton Griezmann. I know James is saying that's the hipster pick.
No, I love it. It's
But
great.
I also want to say that anybody who isn't Mbappe or Messi is probably the hipster pick of this World Cup. But what he's doing is kind of going unnoticed, I feel, for France. Because of the absence of Pogba and Conte, he's asked to do a lot in that midfield. Not only is he setting up behind the striker, he's in the midfield, he's carrying the ball out of defense, he's creating chances, the most chances created at this World Cup, the most big chances created at this World Cup. He only has 1 assist, but it's what he's doing off of the ball as well that's making him making this France team tick. And without him, I don't think they're the same team.
Is there any coincidence that because of his crazy loan deal at Atletico from Barcelona, he's been playing half an hour a game all season long, right? It's a crazy. Now he's finally signed a deal, a full-time deal with Atletico, but he's so fresh. Of all the players at this World Cup, he's one of the freshest, right? And he's playing like his mid-season form.
Yeah. No,
James?
they really need him too, right?
Sorry, guys, we just got to wrap it up. So James going to ask you really quick, 30 seconds or less, and then Mikey.
Okay, Wojciech Szczesny. Might surprise some people.
like
but
That's
It's a
hipster.
great
he's
shout.
been brilliant, though. I know
fantastic.
Poland, of course, crashed out, but he was there the whole World Cup. 2 great saves on penalty kicks against Saudi Arabia, and then Messi, of course, as well. Outstanding. I thought he's been absolutely brilliant. No, the goalkeeper of the tournament so far.
Yeah.
He went last because he's only playing a few games, but superb for the Juventus, man.
I like it.
Yes.
Mikey?
So for me, I didn't really understand the task at hand. I didn't think it was player of the tournament so far, but I do want to give a quick shout out to Tyler Adams. Man, the Leeds product, the American-born, of course, has been so important to this U.S. men's national team. And there's something about, I know Albert has little quirks, but for me, there's something about a guy with an engine and someone who can
I love
run
that.
non-stop. And I think it's really underappreciated nowadays. Tyler Adams is that guy, and he makes the U.S. midfield tick. He's only 23 years old. He's so important for Leeds. I want to give him a quick shout out.
Albert loves distance covered stats.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Distance covered, pass completion. I'm all about it.
All right, and I'm going to have to say Bruno Fernandes, Mikey's favorite player. He's been so critical for this Portuguese side. As, Ronaldo hasn't really stepped up as much. We haven't really seen him perform to what Portugal's used to. And he has really been that man in the middle. He's creating so many opportunities for Portugal, scoring goals too, whether we're counting them or not. And honestly, I think he's really kind of just like the center of this team, So I really think that he has been critical for Portugal. But I really want to give a quick shout out to a few: Ritsu Doan, Hakimi, maybe even Ziyech, Gvardiol, and Cody Gakpo. There are so many we could have mentioned, but honestly, like it's been exciting.
We'll do it again in a week or so.
Yeah.
Right? And
We'll
see
do
what's
it again
changed, right?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. Got to fill time, right?
All right, guys. Up next, we have Fast Money Football, where we tell you where to put your money on tomorrow's game. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome to Fast Money Football, presented by Botana, where we tell you about tomorrow's matches and maybe where to sprinkle a little money, because we maybe have an idea of what's going on, but we really don't. Biggest matches tomorrow.
Keep watching.
Turn off. Turn it off.
Tomorrow's matches are the last round of 16, and they are going to be, I don't know, maybe the most exciting, maybe not. We have Spain and Morocco up first. Guys, I've been saying this is probably the most evenly matched round of 16 game that I think we will see. Who's to say? But Mikey, you're on this game. What are you predicting?
Yeah, I had a tough time picking a winner in this game, and I know Morocco is at 5-1, which, to be honest, was really tempting. The way that Morocco has looked so far at this World Cup, you can get them at really good odds, by the way, to win the entire thing. Still, but I had to go with the over goals here. Over 2.5 goals right now is at plus money, and both of these teams so far have shown that they're capable of finding the back of the net. And Albert, you pointed out a pretty intriguing stat. Every knockout game so far, except for one, Japan-Croatia, has hit the over. So I think that trend will continue, especially against two teams who honestly have really high-octane offenses, led by Hakim Ziyech for Morocco and Spain. Take your pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's tons of goals in that game. Just feels that
it's
way.
it's one of the highest scoring World Cups ever.
Yeah.
Right. Lots of goals, and I agree with you 100%. I've gone for Spain and both teams to score in this one. But we discussed before about the emotional high of a team like Morocco coming out of the group like they did.
Yeah.
And how will that affect them against a Spain team that can pass you off the field? It's a really great matchup, this is. I'm looking forward to this one. I am picking Spain, though, because up and down that group phase, but at their best, they were absolutely brilliant. Probably played the best football of the group phase in spurts, I think. So I'm taking Spain this one. But listen, I like Morocco a lot. We watch them closely, of course, with Canada. They're a team that's going places. Is this World Cup a bit too soon for them to go beyond this stage? I think it probably is. But looking down the line, in 4 years' time, it's going to be quite a formidable team, I think.
No upset so far at this tournament.
Exactly. That's weighing on my mind as well, right? There's always one in there.
It's
There's always one, right?
Keep in mind the last time Spain and Morocco played in the last World Cup in the group stage, they drew 1-1. So anything can happen. And the second match of the day is Portugal and Switzerland. Albert?
Portugal! I found it very difficult to kind of handicap this matchup. But I think Portugal are going to qualify. I'm going to pair that up with the under 2.5. The reason I think Portugal will qualify is because I think they just have enough in attack, even if this matchup goes to extra time, to find the back of net against Switzerland. But Switzerland will make it difficult. I mean, don't look at that game against Serbia where they allowed in 2 goals to Serbia. They don't really play that way. That was more or less a do or die game for them. If you look at that match that they played against Brazil, they sit back and they frustrate the opposition. And that's what they do in these knockout games. And we saw it against France at the Euros. They knocked them out going into penalties. If they can do it to a team like France, they can do it to a team similar to Portugal. I think they can hold them to goals. But I think coming down to it, I think Portugal goes through.
I'm with you. I'm taking Portugal and both teams to score. Portugal to qualify, by the way, just to keep it safe.
Yeah.
And that's at plus 215. I feel like that's a pretty decent chance it'll happen. I think Switzerland can find the back of the net, and as Mikey alluded to, we've seen the over, so I expect goals here as well. But there's a big question here on whether Cristiano Ronaldo is going to start this match. Now, Mikey, I'll throw this to you first. There's been a bit of drama here between Coach Fernando Santos and Cristiano Ronaldo. Lots of stuff going on in the media. Whether it's true or not, we will never know. But do you start Cristiano Ronaldo tomorrow?
I feel like I've talked about this every single week over the past couple of months. Do I believe Cristiano Ronaldo will start tomorrow? I do. I do believe Cristiano Ronaldo will start tomorrow. It's the FIFA World Cup. It's potentially his last World Cup game. You can't not leave Cristiano Ronaldo out of the starting lineup, or else he's just going to cause a huge hissy fit and make everything about him. You start Ronaldo. It's what's worked for Portugal so far at this World Cup. He hasn't been very great, but I don't see them changing it up too much heading into what is such a crucial game for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's likely that Ronaldo will start. I don't think he will, and I don't think he should, because if this match goes into extra time and Ronaldo starts, he will not have the legs to play 120 minutes, or maybe even the first half of extra time. This guy has only played 90 minutes twice since the end of October, and he's older now. We were just talking about Modric and those types of players. They can't last as long as we would hope them to, and as their manager would hope them to. So I see Ronaldo not starting. Man, it's hard to even call that. I don't think he's going to start. I think you want to leave your top goal scorer, give him some fresh legs, enter in, I don't know, 60th, 70th minute, and if it goes into extra time, he still has enough legs to play.
Trouble is, he's made it about himself already.
Yeah.
Right, by that, hissy fit, walking off the pitch and upsetting the manager. So, of course, he's made it about himself. But if he doesn't start, that's a huge call, though, by Santos. And that's the beginning of the end for Ronaldo. That is the moment we've been waiting for, right? Can he be dropped? Is he droppable? And if he doesn't start, there's a proof there. Is he a guy that will come off the bench and do his job? Maybe, possibly. But it's such a tough one. I still envision the starting 11 coming out tomorrow with him in that starting 11. But it's interesting being called out by his manager publicly like that. That doesn't generally happen. Unless he's at Manchester United, of course. In the last few months, it's happened a few times. Yeah. But it's not going well for him, Al Sadd's sitting there with that big offer on the table.
Al Nassr.
Oh, sorry, Al Nassr. Sorry, getting my Saudi Arabian teams mixed up here. I should start following Saudi Arabian football a lot closer, obviously. But 200 million, is it?
200 million, yeah.
210.
210
million.
yeah.
What's 10 million when you're talking at that point? But
Comes and goes.
I don't know, man. It's about
that would be such
again.
a disappointing move, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100% it would be.
Selling out, going to Saudi Arabia, especially after that interview.
How do you say no to that?
He did it
He
in
has
the
all
past,
the money
apparently.
in the world. Although I did hear,
enough,
and we don't
right?
know if these are rumors or not, that he has bought a house in Lisbon and his cars have officially arrived in the city.
His cars.
His cars. So
Professional
I don't
football
know.
matters.
Maybe that sporting return. We will report on it. We will let you guys know. But it's all coming down tomorrow as Portugal take on Switzerland and Spain take on Morocco. The final round of 16 matches. Join us tomorrow because we'll be breaking it all down. See you then.